don't have an evacuation route that can handle the number of people that we need to be evacuated, and our hospitals cannot cope with that number of people either.
Yeah, I think I got all that. Those questions that you've outlined, these are precisely the questions, and most of them, that have not been answered yet by the proponent. This is precisely why I do not support the application currently by Kinder Morgan. I was struck today by the resignation of Mark Ellison, who's he was president of BC Hydro for a long time. Well, these are the kind of issues that are going to come in front of our council. I'm not an oil guy. I don't know all the technical issues. I have to rely on the experts. But when this expert, who I have been relying on to supply me with information, when he resigns, I have a lot of doubts about the process. In particular, I was not aware of the fact that cross-examination had been ruled out in this application, which I find ludicrous. And the province has complained incessantly the lack of cooperation, the lack of detail that has not been forthcoming from the proponent. So, as far as I'm concerned, I see in our future, I see, perhaps civil disobedience. This is completely ridiculous.
Thank you, Janice, for your question directed to Kinder Morgan and the implications of this bill. I'm struck by the fact that in all of the discussions I've had on the doorsteps, everything I've heard from all the candidates in these all candidate debates and in every question that's been posed, there's opposition to the expansion of the transportation of crude oil products in Broward Inland. We seem to have consensus. No one supports it in the meetings that I have been at. So the question then becomes, from my point of view, you have to ask, who is going to be effective in speaking out on behalf of North Vancouver in opposing the increased transportation of crude oil products in Broward Inland? And in that respect, Janice, I nominate myself. I was counsel for the surviving passengers of the Queen of the North. I know that ships can sink at times when you least expect it. I believe that I am an effective voice for opposition to the expansion of the Kinder Morgan pipeline and the transportation of crude oil products in our beautiful Broward Inland.
I think, going by our agenda here, we've come to the 8:30. It's the witching hour. I think it's time to turn it over to the executive from Delbrook. Do you want to take any further questions? We've got 10 minutes before we get kicked out of here. And I'm not taking my bunch of Matt is a horrid librarian. Pardon me. Ladies and gentlemen, I think without further ado, we do have the Mayor by Acclamation, Richard Walton, with us, who very kindly said he would wait till later this evening. He may have something he wishes to clarify. And I hope we can hear something about how he will explain his vision for the next 4 years for Delbrook and for the district. Mr. Mayor.
Well, I think I won't do exactly that, Trevor. I appreciate that, because I would like to turn the time back over to the people who you're going to elect. But I will just offer two observations on a positive nature. First of all, thanking all the candidates for being here. It's a scary thing that takes a lot of time and risk and whatever. So I think hopefully you give a round of applause when you finish to everybody who's up here. Two things that I was taught along the way by two different mayors. One was Jack Louse, who served as North End City Mayor for years. And Jack had a favorite saying, which many of us know, and that is, it's okay to disagree. It's not okay to be disagreeable. And I think we followed that maxim for years. I've had the good fortune over the years to work with 9 different councillors in 9 years. And they've all been just different and feisty and as you possibly could, and we've argued and we've had different opinions. But we've got along well together, we've trusted each other, we've listened to each other, and we've provided, I think, a collective wisdom. The other one is Derek Corrigan. In Corrigan, when I first got elected, he said to me, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Newbie Mayor, he said, who do you take your authority from? And I thought about it, and I said, well, of course, the voters, the people who elected me. And he said, no, you don't. And if you think that, you'll be a one-term mayor. And what he said is, the council collectively takes the authority from the public. The mayor takes the authority from the 6 councillors. You can't do anything as mayor without having 6 colleagues that you work with closely and trust and respect. So I just ask, I think all of you, and all my colleagues as well, whoever we end up, the 7 of us sitting down together, we work together, we respect each other's differences, and we work on those problems and solutions with trust. I can tell you this, that in the council over the years, we don't have backdoor discussions before agendas. Very often we walk into meetings, like most of the time we walk into meetings having no idea how each of us is going to vote. And I think that's the best way, is to have those independent voices. So I'd like to thank the organizers and thank all the candidates for a very interesting discussion tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you everybody for coming tonight. A note was passed to me that I should apologize for the size of the room, opposed to Robin Hicks, who is sort of in the second row there. I originally booked this meeting for a night of a council meeting, which would have meant we were all not here at all. This is actually the Delbrook Community Association's first ever all candidates meeting in over 40 years of existence. It's our best ever. So we didn't know quite what to expect. Also, at the time, while I was trying to get Mountainside Secondary, the school teachers were all on strike, and the school district was in a bit of disarray. Much better room there. We'll have our next all candidates meeting there, and we won't be turning people away at the door. Maybe the coffee will get drunk, etc. So once again, thank you so much, everybody, for coming. Thank you, incumbents, for coming out, and new candidates for coming out, and thank you all for. More than anything else, for wanting to support our community and to work for our community. You know, being on the district council is a great service that you do to us, for us, and I want to thank you all for stepping forward and saying that you will do that again in some cases, and again and again and again in other cases, and for a first time for those of you for whom it's the
I'm
first
thinking,
time.
Renee, maybe just one last chance before we all leave. Could we get the different candidates just to stand up and acknowledge a name? Let's put a name to a face just so that you've got it. This is important. Amelia Hill down at the end. Let's get call. Jim Hanson. Jane Hunter. Mr. Finley. Number 7, Matthew Ball. Number Kinsey. Colbert, Councilor Lisa Muir, Kevin McCauley, Tony Ford, Councilor Dr. Guy Dunn, Councilor Roger Bassam, Councilor Robin Hicks. Thank you all for coming tonight, everybody. I think there's a chance to do a bit of schmoozing here before everybody leaves. There is some coffee and cookies over here. You're welcome to grab a handful. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Trevor.
Trevor, I almost forgot. Trevor, thank you. And Trevor, you're obviously a book man, so if you're going to know something,